Social media is everywhere. It affects all of our lives. It can reunite friends, strengthen relationships that are notorious for not working out, and even bring people together. We now see civil rights movements popping up worldwide, and people are reaching out to help, sometimes without even being asked. Globalization, social media has now become a major part in globalization. We are now moving from we are the citizens of the United States to we are the citizens of the world. But this is only if we use social media in the right way. If we do not, suicide rates and cyberbullying rates go up, we destroy relationships with loved ones, and it can even ruin our chances at getting into our dream college. So I ask you, how do you use social media? Just think back to the last couple of times that you used social media. Think about what was the purpose behind using that social media profile. How did you use it?
This was the video that made me question my career choice.
From the track.
I remember watching this TED Talk at 3 a.m. one day and wondering, was social media really the main source for my career choice? Would I have picked a different career have I not been paying as much attention to social media personalities and online trends? That is why I came up with this question. How does social media impact students' career choices? My assumptions before coming into this were my own experiences and experiences that my friends had when picking a major in college. I myself picked video game design as my major, shying away from a pure art-related major because of the stereotype that artists don't make any money, one that was reinforced by all the pity and complaining from struggling artists on Twitter that I saw. Some of my friends have picked their majors based on social media influence too. One of them picked dentistry, partly because they saw how in social media dentists tend to make a lot of money each year. These are just two examples that made me realize the unspoken influence that social media had on our career choices, one that has been overlooked until now. Now, the first thing I did when sitting down to make this video was to look for a source that would serve as a starting point for my research, one that would illustrate social media as a whole rather than in the small lens that pertains to my topic, so I could have a better idea of how to approach it. I found this thesis from Shannon Murphy Gallagher from the Rowan University Department of Psychology in 2017, called The Influence of Social Media on Teen Self-Esteem. This study concluded that there was a relationship between social media and self-esteem. Now, this was a very good starting point, since it reassured me that social media can be an integral part of a teen's life, for better or for worse. Like we saw in the video at the beginning, social media can change your lives in many ways. After this source, I knew that I had to start looking for more focused information between social media and career choices. The next source I found was an article written by Jana Kitten from the Finnish Institute for Educational Research in Finland. It talked about the preconceptions that career practitioners had over social media, ranging from unnecessary to indispensable, depending on how out of touch these practitioners were to the reality of social media. After reading this article, I came out knowing how older professionals thought about social media and how their age and familiarity with social media determined the importance they gave to this phenomenon. After reading this, I wanted to focus on the target of my research, teenagers and young adults. My next source comes from Bromley H. Knighton from Loughborough University. It's a printed journal article that speaks about what the influences are for teens when they're choosing their career. He says that choosing a career is a developmental process. And after the fantasy stage of early to mid childhood, that's when we're kids and think of being astronauts or firefighters, comes the realistic stage in the late adolescence. In this part of the process is when the person gets an appraisal of what the real world has to offer, of what reality is like. Taking this information, I learned that because social media is such an integral part of our lives, our view of the world changes between what we actually see in real life and what we perceive in social media, creating this jointed perspective that gives us a somewhat unique view of how the world works. The final source I wanted to use comes from a book from Ingrid Schoon and Samantha Parsons from the City University of London, UK. This study followed over 17,000 individuals born 12 years apart, between 1958 and 1970, and followed their career aspirations in their changing context. This study concluded that because of the socio-historical context of the times when these people grew up were so different, they tended to have very different career choices. Now, taking into account all of the sources that we had, It showed me that it is normal for us to want to choose a career based on our context. In this case, sources like social media, because it's just what has built us up as people in this day and age. There is nothing wrong from choosing our career partly from social media, since people like our parents also had different factors in their time that influenced their decisions. It's just that in our case, it's social media that's the one who's influencing us. Now, in conclusion, social media in this day and age is an extremely powerful tool for both good and bad. Even though there are many people who still don't understand its power, the younger generations have embraced it and have made it part of their daily lives. In the most important part of our lives, when choosing our major, in the adolescence part, social media can be a big factor into our outlook of the world and how we approach our goals. Finally, I'm left with this question. Do we pay more attention to social media personalities or trends? How much do teenagers use social media on a daily basis? And here are my sources. And thank you for your time.